Welcome to Connecticut Legends and Lore. I'm Marie Bonelli. I will be introducing you to one of Connecticut's finest soccer players who, at the age of almost 60, continues to play across the state in adult leagues. But first, let's take a look back at his beginnings, starting at Torrington High School and then on to Central Connecticut State University, where this two-time All-American and member of the Connecticut Soccer Hall of Fame continues to reign as one of the top leading scorers at those institutions. He's fast, he's fierce, and this forward has been on the front lines, taking all the hits and overcoming some remarkable injuries to become a soccer legend.
Yes, I love to kick that ball as hard as I can against the wall, and it bounced back to me, and I'd have to trap it. So it made me quick. You know, my dad played, and I followed, his team. And we did not have youth soccer in Torrington. There was no soccer, so we had to play the organized, Babe Ruth baseball leagues and basketball. And I take a little of everything I do on the soccer field from those sports, just by moving to the ball, knowing where the ball is going to be when it's in the air. So I loved all those sports, but I knew I was good at soccer. We were about 7th and 8th graders, and he formed the team, so he was the coach. And he would, his famous saying was, "You candy asses." And that's what it was. When we would miss the ball, or "You candy asses." Remember that?
I'm listening.
So he never gave us the "Oh, you're great, you don't have to stop learning." He'd always put the carrot in front of your face. And there were games I'd score 2 goals, we would win the game, and I'm happy, and he would say, "Well, you missed 3 other ones." After watching them play, I was 12 years old, and I just wanted to get in that game, so I would show up to his games. I'd show up to all the games, hoping they would be short players. And I crossed my fingers, and then all of a sudden, Dad comes over to me. "We only have 10 players. You be Sal Delali because he's short." So, so here I am, going up to the referee. I give him my pass. Here I'm 12 years old. Sal is 35 years old. He doesn't care. He lets me in the game. So we get in the huddle. Dad would say, "Just go down the right side and kick the ball in the center." And that first game, it was a thrill to me, and I've loved the sport ever since.
Well, when I first started covering sports for the Torrington Register, there was no organized youth soccer for kids, obviously. And Billy Pearson was instrumental, very key, in organizing the Torrington Youth Soccer League. And his sons, Kenny and Eddie, played in it with some other kids. And that was sort of the start of the feeder program for the high school. And at the time, the high school didn't start up till early 70s. They went to a varsity schedule. They got beat up pretty bad their first year. I don't think they won a game. And then Billy was able to bring along, obviously, Kenny and Kyung Park and Eddie and other kids from the league. And Torrington started getting better. And by the time Kenny was a senior, they had made the state tournament, which was pretty cool, just 4 years later. So
A dedication to the sport is what Kenny believes made him the best player at Torrington High School his freshman year. It was 1976, and this growing soccer phenom broke his leg, an accident that tested his resolve and strength to keep going in the sport.
It was really good, yeah. He was quick and strong, and even for a young guy of probably 14 at the time. And he was fearless. He just, you could see that he was a real skill player right away, even as a freshman.
I got cocky my sophomore year in high school because I thought I was the best. Then my dad took me to the junior soccer tryouts for the state, and I had to try out, and I realized there's players that are so much better than me. So when I got home, that was my goal, to be as good as those guys. And that's why I worked that much harder, because I wanted to get to that level.
What was that level specifically? What was the difference between them and you?
Well, in Torrington, the farmland was a kick and run style game. The shout was, kick it as far as you can. They would kick it down there. The state level, it was passing. It's the game today. Pass here, pass here, pass here, pass here. Well, in the high school leagues, it was much of a kick and run style, and it was very physical. It was a different game.
Kenny was known for having one of the quickest first 3 steps in the game of soccer, but he used his head to both score and strategize his next move, earning him 30 goals in one season, a record that remains unbeaten at Torrington High School.
Well, it's a weapon. It's another way to score a goal. So I've been lucky because when I was young, I developed, I had no fear of heading the ball, first of all. And my best friend, Kyungjin Park, I would go down his house, we'd get on our bikes, we'd go to the high school field, and I would force him to kick the ball from the wing to the center so I could practice hitting the ball. And yes, I would miss and it hit me in the nose or the side of the face, but I perfected that goal shot right from the early day, the high school. I wasn't afraid to use it.
And he would throw himself at the ball. When you're going in with a bunch of guys trying to head, guys are going to knock you around. And like I said, he was always marked by 1 or 2 players who were beating him up a little bit, as legally, if they could. So, yeah, I remember him getting hurt a few times, but I just remember him scoring, just being able to score at will sometimes against some teams.
So all I have to do is out-jump my defender, flick the ball to where my player is going to be. He runs it, he gets a breakaway. The other weapon is on goal kicks, on penalty kicks. They look at me, they service the ball, they say, well, it's just, I'm known for heading the ball, so they just feed me. You got to feed me, I'm going to win that ball, and a lot of times he goes in the net. I love it.
In 1979, Ken makes the varsity soccer team at CCSC and finds himself becoming the determinant point of a 7-game winning streak.
They were not that good the year before, and then I went through preseason, and I seemed to fit right in with the varsity squad. And I remember, shooting at the goal. I was striking the ball good, and then the corner kicks would come in, and I would head the ball, and they loved that I could head the ball. Their last year's leading scorer, he came in a little out of shape, and I fit in really good with the starting team, and he realized that I was going to be starting. He quit even before the first game. And I was now, not only I make the team, I am starting on the team. That I was just pumped. The first 7 games of the season, we win. And it was so exciting back then. It was, we ended up having a great season, winning the most games that Central ever had.
The CCSU soccer program, now in its 10th year, would rank for the first time as an NCAA Division II team. It was no coincidence that Central would achieve this ranking while Kenny Pearson was on the soccer team. He was now seen as an explosive and competitive player who was a mainstay from start to finish of every game.
High school was a lot of running. I would outrun the players. But college, you had to hold the ball, and I was the man up front. So as the ball is played up front, I've got to trap the ball down, hold my defender off, and wait for my supporting players to come up the field. And that year, I just got better. Game after game, practice after practice, I worked at holding the ball. And I could take it to where I am today playing. That the ball is played up front, I could hold it. My players give me the ball, I'm going to hold it and then start to play up in the offensive part of the field. And I think that's one of the main stays with me. The other one is a change of direction is so important in soccer. It's almost like a football running back when he's running at you and he head fakes this way and goes that way. Well, soccer, that's what you want to do with a defender. You want to get him to go this way and then cut back and go the other way. And that's how you get by a player. And they always said that I had the quickest 3 steps. And you learn to have these moves, you know, when you have the ball on your left, you throw it to your right, and then it goes forward, you're by the defender. You get your body in front of that defender, get him out of the way, and get the shot off. So it's your elbows. You can't, anything with your hands is a foul. But if you could get by a guy and elbow him right in the chest, and then you got him, because now you control him here and throw him to this, because every inch counts on a soccer field.
It was September 1980, Kenny's second season at Central, when a player from Western Connecticut State University inched too close to him from behind, knocking him down as he attempted to head the ball to a teammate. A dislocated shoulder sidelined him for the remainder of the season, and the team would lose their leading scorer.
He himself says he's a sloppy player who gets the job done, and he calls himself a blue-collar worker. Does any of that describe Kenny on the soccer field?
All of it.
So tell me this blue-collar worker.
Yeah, he was a tough kid. You know, he grounded. He wasn't afraid to get knocked down, and he took his share of beatings because he was marked, by maybe a couple players some game. So he was getting pushed around, but he was a tough kid.
Following the accident, Kenny would spend his time at the gym rebuilding his strength, having decided to forego surgery and live out his life with intermittent pain in his left shoulder.
In 1980, separated the shoulder. I worked very hard to get back to where I was. And the next year, I did have a good scoring year. The team was great. And I was, in 1981, that was when I made All-American. First Central soccer player to be All-American. The next year after that, though, I had a bad start in the season. Nothing went in. I I tried, sometimes you try too hard, and I was missing goals, and I thought, boy, I had 1 goal in 7 games. And then the season turned around for me that 8th game when we went up to Keene State. We played in the rain, and they were one tough team. And they were up 1-0, and then right before halftime, there was a centering pass, and I had a dive for the ball as it's coming across, and I just reached out, and it missed my head. I knew it was gonna, and then I punched it in. The ball went in the net, I hit the ground, slid in, the referee says it's a goal, the other team is going, no goal, no goal, no goal. But it was allowed. We go. So that was my the only goal that counted in my record book. That was a handball. But the second half, I scored two goals in the second half. Had a hat trick. We won 3-2. And then the very next game, we go home, and I get 4 goals the first half, and then a quick 5th goal in the second half. The coach takes me out.
Kenny's senior year at Central, the team wins 12 games, the most ever won by a Central soccer team.
My senior year went well for me too, and I ended up being an All-American soccer player, but what I remember is my last game of my college career. I had 19 goals, 1 less from the year before. I got 1 game left, and I had this big dude covering me, and he kept knocking me down. And he knocked me down one time, and he stood over me and goes, "Oh, you All-American, let's see what you got, you All-American." So I got pissed. I yelled out to the other co-captain, I said, "Miguel, serve the ball in the box." So I says, "Wait." So I circled around, I get to far post, and there it goes. I'm ready. And Miguel hits this ball, beautiful service into the box. And this big guy is going for the ball. Just as he's ready to head the ball out, I come in and I knock him out of the way. Boom! Headed the ball in the net. Knocked him on his ass and scored a goal. Then I had 2 goals in the second half. I ended up getting a hat trick and broke my record from the year before. But I so in love that last game.
In 1983, his final year at Central, Kenny solidifies his position as a soccer legend, holding nearly every scoring record at CCSU, including total career goals, points, and assists. He is a 2-time All-American and 3-time All-New England selection. In his senior year, it was the first time Central was an NCAA Division II team, ranking 9th. Kenny is the first Central soccer player to receive the Frederick M. Gladstone Award and be inducted into the school's Alumni Association Athletic Hall of Fame.
I stayed away from Central Connecticut, and then for a little bit, and then I came back, and a lot of the players were saying, "Who is this guy?" And I got to meet some of them, and they say, "You're the legend." So it kind of grew with the Central current players that look back, and because my name is in the record books, and they look back, "Who is that guy? He must be a legend." And then when they finally meet me, I think it's funny.
Back in his hometown of Torrington, Kenny left a mark on the game of soccer that continues to benefit players today.
I thought that once Kenny had established, and other kids had established that winning attitude. I think that's another thing to his attitude. So I think that's what carried over. Torrington won a state tournament, won a state title, not that long after, maybe 10 years after Kenny left. And they've had really good teams, Naugatuck Valley League champions some years, and highly rated teams. So I think Kenny left, he's helped build that program, basically. That it was no longer a laughing stock, and that players like Kenny and Park and his brother Eddie and Mario Longabuco and some other ones, they built that program, and that's his legacy, I think. Just the fact that Torrington's really a good soccer school now.
Well, soccer is my life. As a young kid, I was very competitive. I loved all games. But soccer is such a beautiful sport. It's just because there's so many players around, they have to run in different positions, so the game is changing as you run, as whoever overlaps. So it's a constant flow, and you've got to deal. It's like a river. You got to deal with that river as you're going down the river, and then all of a sudden the ball's in the center. Boom! The ball's in the net, you scored a goal, it's the whole team gets psyched over it. And that's why I love the game. That's why it's been my life.
Yeah. If you cover sports for a long time, you could see it. There's certain, whether it's baseball, football, soccer, it's just the way they carry themselves and play. I mean, when you dominate the opposition, that's your same age group, you would think that, this kid could go on to do something good, and he did, so.
So what did become of this confident and competitive soccer player after college? Find out the answer in part 2 of Connecticut Legends and Lore.